and to travel to Australia this year to celebrate the 70th anniversary of the ANZUS Alliance. Well, let's bring in our Thursday political panel now, and I'm joined in the studio by Victorian Labor MP Peter Murphy.
Hello.
Hello. And New South Wales Liberal MP Fiona Martin.
Hello.
Thank you both for joining me here today. Well, I just want to start with you, Peter Murphy, because Labor has for some time been calling on the government to secure extra doses of these vaccines. The government's announced another 10 million doses of Pfizer today. Are you satisfied with this? Is this what Labor had been asking for?
We're really pleased to hear that those extra doses have been obtained. You know, there's 100 million people around the world who have been vaccinated already, and obviously no one in Australia. So incredibly keen for the rollout to happen as soon as possible and as efficiently as possible. We weren't at the front of the queue, and this proves it, but it's great that there's more vaccines.
And Fiona Martin, of course, it is good news. We now have 20 million doses, but it's the 4th of February right now and we don't have a single dose in Australia. Is that a problem?
No, we're in a really good position. I mean, we are the envy of the world. There are countries around the world, the US and the UK, who have hundreds of thousands of cases going on right now. So we are in a very good position, I think. And, you know, we don't need to rush. And so, I mean, I welcome the news that we have an additional 10 million doses of Pfizer. It's great news. And I'm confident and optimistic that we will roll this out in the right way.
The Health Minister earlier described this extra acquisition as an insurance policy. So now we have the Pfizer, hopefully soon AstraZeneca, subject to approval. Is this sort of strategy here to spread the risk? Because, of course, when we put in these orders originally, we didn't know which one would be approved and when. Yeah,
we have a vaccine portfolio, so we're in a very, very strong position. Pfizer vaccine has obviously been approved by the TGA, and AstraZeneca is going through that process now. And the TGA is a wonderful regulatory framework that goes through and assesses the efficacy of the vaccines. So I have faith in that they will make the right decision for Australians, and I'm confident that we're in a very strong position when it comes to vaccinating Australians. And of course, it's not mandatory; it's voluntary, and we've been open about the information that's available to Australians about the vaccinations from the beginning, and continue to do so that Australians can make an informed decision about vaccinations. And I've just heard today from the Health Minister that the health information about the vaccine will be translated into different languages, like the health information that was rolled out during the beginning of the pandemic, so that all Australians can understand the information and make an informed decision about the vaccination.
Yeah, we'll get to that in just a moment, because you, of course, represent a very diverse, multicultural electorate. But just before we get there, one of the other announcements today, Peter Murphy, was that the government is ensuring that effectively anyone in Australia right now will get this vaccine. So whether you're a citizen or a visa holder, how important do you think that is, that we're not sort of saying no to refugees and asylum seekers because they're not on Medicare?
Well, it's absolutely crucial because we know that a lot of people who are on visas are actually the people who are driving Uber vehicles, who are delivering our food, who are cleaning, and they need to be vaccinated as much as people who are here who are Australian citizens. And we need people who are vulnerable, who are in the sort of casualised and insecure work, which means they're going across a lot of different workplaces to be vaccinated so that we can stop the spread. Mm-hmm. And look, I agree with what Fiona said about the TGA. It's really important for people to have confidence in the vaccine. Part of that is us as parliamentarians showing our confidence. So I've said in the Parliament, but I'll say on television, I'll get the vaccine as soon as I come up in the queue. Mm-hmm. I've taken the flu vaccine because of my particular health circumstances. I've taken the pneumonia vaccine, and I've done what we encourage everyone to do. I've gone to my GP and said, will it be safe for me to take it? Should I take it? She said it's fine, so I'll be taking it. And it's voluntary, but I really hope that everyone takes it up, because that's what we need.
Yeah, well, that is the next big campaign, I suppose, from the both sides' perspective. It's the rollout, it's the campaign to convince as many Australians as possible to get this. But on your side of politics, you have a few MPs who are continuing to either spread misinformation about COVID-19 or who are defending their right to do so. So basically information that is against accepted medical advice. How important is a consistency of message here, given that we're asking Australians to take up a vaccine that has only just been developed?
Well, of course, we live in a democracy and freedom of speech is encouraged, and I think you'd all agree with that, certainly.
But does it come with responsibility? responsibilities, given we're in a pandemic and these sort of health campaigns are so
Well,
vital?
since my first speech, I've advocated for evidence-based medicine, and I'm really proud to be part of a government that advocates for evidence-based policies. So certainly that's the case. And, you know, I'm all about evidence-based, and this pandemic has been led by the evidence all the way through, and we've done so well at suppressing the virus in Australia, and now with the vaccinations as well. And I certainly will be vaccinating my family. And, you know, we're a vaccination nation too. You know, all my children were vaccinated, and I'm very proud of our vaccination rate here in Australia.
Some research has been conducted by the ANU which shows that, of course, we do have a really high vaccination rate, but there's about a 20% chunk of the population that is what they're calling vaccine hesitant. Now, I think you can probably understand why, given how quickly it has been developed. But how do you convince that cohort that it's a safe vaccine?
Openness and transparency about information and the risks, and having that dialogue and openness about vaccinations, ensuring that they're free as well and accessible and available, and the information, obviously having it translated into different languages for my electorate in Reid. We have people from all different types of backgrounds. It's really important to have the information, the health information, translated.
We've been asked, through the crisis, as you just mentioned, in terms of, you know, politicians leading the way here, we've been asked to really trust our politicians, our leaders, and our health authorities who are advising everything here. I suppose, as I was asking Fiona, like, how important is the consistency of the message?
I think it's absolutely crucial, and people talk about freedom of speech, which is obviously important, but you're absolutely right. There are responsibilities that come with it, and particularly for those of us who are elected into positions of leadership, we have additional responsibilities over and above your average person. And there can absolutely be debate about how to roll out a vaccine, for example, or, you know, what sort of measures are the appropriate measures to put in place to stop people smoking. But we don't debate now whether or not smoking causes cancer, because it's a scientific fact. And the concern I have is that the MPs, you know, Craig Kelly and the others who are Senator Canavan and others who are now saying, oh, he's got the right to say things. It is not about having a healthy debate and, like Fiona said, putting out there the evidence, the pros, the cons, the risks, so that people can weigh it up. It's actually putting out misinformation which undermines not just confidence in the vaccine, which is, for me, incredibly problematic because it's a public health issue and it also affects our economy, right? It's both. But it also, I think, is undermining the trust in politicians and government, which we've just managed to start to get back.
What are the silver linings of the COVID? Yeah,
the COVID. That's right. You know, we had plummeted. Like, less than half of the community trusted politics and trusted government, which is devastatingly bad. And all indications are that over the course of the last 12 months, that has really increased because of the way governments, both the federal government, state governments, and oppositions mainly, have conducted themselves and used experts and explained things to the community. And that's why it's so important to protect that and protect that trust. And that's why we should be calling out people with special responsibilities of being members of Parliament who aren't helping the debate but are just undermining and causing fear.
Well, yeah, does Peter have a point there, I suppose, if we go back to Craig Kelly? Of course, he has been sort of had a bit of a dressing down from the Prime Minister, but he worried that people in your electorate might look at him as a government MP and hear what he's saying, and then that effectively undermines the official government line?
I think that, you know, like I said, in a democracy, freedom of speech is encouraged, but when it comes to misinformation, I'll always call it out, and certainly that's what I advocate for, and also evidence-based medicine. And I'm very proud to be part of a government that is and has done the whole way through the pandemic, been advised by experts, teams and committees of people who are experts in this area, so we should be proud. The Prime Minister has addressed this both privately and publicly now, so I'm looking forward to moving on.
Okay.
I don't disagree with that. I do want to say I wish it had happened earlier, because I do have constituents who contact me about the misinformation that they've read that has been shared through different groups, and a lot of it, you know, can be sourced back to people like Craig Kelly, and I think an earlier intervention might have stopped that, but hopefully we can now be absolutely clear that we're responsible for facts and proper debate, and science and facts matter in this and in things like climate change and all the other things that we're debating.
Yeah, I think we can all agree on that one. Well, let's move onto another topic, and hotel quarantine. So we've seen overnight your home state. Victoria's had another case of COVID-19. It's like a bit of a cycle, isn't it? But and this is again a sort of a leakage from hotel quarantines. So we heard from the Prime Minister and Deputy Prime Minister before, but do you think that the policy is still working, given that we've now seen Perth, Brisbane and Melbourne all face this same issue?
Well, I think hotel quarantine is one of the reasons why we've actually been able to keep Australians safe. We know it works. There are going to be little mistakes that occur here and there, and there'll be little cases here and there as we work through. And I think we've learnt from some of those, and moving forward. The states and territory leaders, are working together, and National Cabinet has been an incredible forum for discussion. And so, when National Cabinet meets again, they'll address these issues that have recently come up.
We've looked at the Howard Springs facility near Darwin. That seems to be working really well so far. There haven't been any kind of outbreaks as a result of any leakages from that. Do we need purpose-built facilities? Is it time to be looking beyond hotels?
Well, I'm guided by what the experts say, and I'm sure that National Cabinet will look into this and come to some decision about that in due course.
All right, and Peter Murphy, just finally to you on this. I know Labor has been calling for the government to be looking at other options. It'll be discussed tomorrow. Should purpose-built facilities be considered?
I think the Morrison government, to be honest, has to step up and take some responsibility for what it's constitutionally responsible for, which is quarantine and the borders. And the states have borne the brunt of that. And we will have to continue to have a quarantine program. And if the purpose-built facilities work the best, then that's where we should go. We've still got, still about 40,000 Australians desperately wanting to come home, including, terrible cases, as we've seen recently, of people with terminal cancer just wanting to come home to be able to say goodbye to their family. We have to bring Australians home. We have to have quarantine. It's linked to the vaccine. So I want the Morrison government to take some responsibility in this, be it money, be it organisation, and National Cabinet, I think, can work well to be able to do that with that leadership.
Yeah, we'll see what happens after tomorrow's meeting. Peter Murphy and Fiona Martin, thank you so much for your time today.
You're welcome.
All right, well, in the